Hello, my sweet friends. Welcome to Lantern Hollow. Here, stories glow softly and help you drift off to sleep. So grab your favorite blanket, snuggle in nice and cozy, and when you're ready, we'll begin. Our story today is very well known. It comes to us from 18th century France from an author named Gabrielle Suzanne Bardot de Villeneuve, and it is called Beauty and the Beast. Once upon a time, there was a very rich merchant. He had 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. All of his daughters were very beautiful, but the youngest was admired the most. She was called Beauty because the name suited her, which made her sisters green with envy. And if this were not enough, she was also more intelligent and kind than both her sisters. One day, the merchant came home looking very worried and sad, and when his children asked him what was the matter, he replied that he had lost everything that he owned, and they would have to sell their lovely house and go live in a cottage in the country. The elder sisters were very angry when they heard this news, but Beauty thought how nice it would be to live in the country surrounded by the woods and fields. And so they moved into the cottage, and the merchant and his 3 sons became farmers and learned to work the land. Each morning, Beauty would wake up at 4 a.m. and hurry to clean the house and make breakfast for her family. When she had finished the housework, she spent her time reading, playing the harpsichord, or singing. In contrast, her 2 sisters were always bored. They didn't wake until 10 in the morning. Then they would go for long walks and pass their time grumbling about all their friends and the beautiful jewels and clothes that they had once owned. They looked with scorn and jealousy at Beauty's simple pleasures. "Look at our youngest sister," they said to each other. "She is so stupid that she is happy in her misery." One day, after the family had lived in their cottage for about a year, the merchant informed his children that he had received a letter telling him of a ship that would make him his fortune, and he would have to go to a distant town on business. In haste, he made ready to make the long journey to the port. He told his children that he may not return until the next day. He promised that he would bring them each a gift and ask them what they would like. The elder daughters asked for jewels and satin dresses and any other presents that he wanted to bring back for them. Beauty, however, only wanted for her father to return home safely.
"Don't you want me to bring you anything?"
asked her father. "There is nothing I really need," she said, "but since you are so kind to ask, would you please bring me back some red roses if you should see any on your travels? There are no rose bushes to be found in these parts, and they are the one thing that I have truly missed since we have been here." The children gave their father a last embrace, and as he rode away on horseback, Beauty stood at the door of the cottage and waved goodbye to him. When the merchant arrived at the port, he found that the ship's cargo was worthless, and he had to return home just as poor as he had been before. Sadly, he started the long journey back, disappointed that he could not even afford one present for any of his children. A long ride later, he began to feel tired and cold. He was only about 30 miles from home when disaster struck once more. While riding through the vast forest, he had somehow missed his turn and became lost along the way. It began to snow heavily, and the wind was so strong that he was twice thrown from his horse. When the darkness came, he was sure he would freeze to death or starve of hunger, or that he would be eaten by the howling wolves. He longed to find somewhere to rest, and wandering aimlessly through the woods, he suddenly came to a place where the trees cleared and formed a long avenue. And at the end of the long tree-lined path, he saw a light. It seemed quite far away, but just the thought of shelter gave the merchant a little strength. He dismounted from his horse and struggled on foot through the deep snow to the entrance of the long avenue. He walked towards the light and saw that it came from a brightly lit palace. Astonished, he passed through the gateway. The courtyard was quite empty. There was no one in sight, so he took his horse around the back of the palace and found the stables. He then fed it some hay and oats and left it to rest in these comfortable surroundings. When the merchant returned to the front of the palace, he noticed the door was open, so he climbed the steps and walked in. When he entered the large hall, he still found no sign of anyone, but he saw one of the doors leading off the hall was open. It seemed as though the whole palace was deserted. So he entered the room and was delighted by the sight which met his eyes. It was the dining room, and there he found a welcoming fire blazing in the fireplace, and a table that was fully prepared with every kind of food you could imagine. The merchant was soaked to the skin, so he went to the fireplace to dry himself off.
The master of this house will forgive me for making myself at home,
He thought.
He will probably arrive soon, and I can explain.
The merchant waited for quite some time, but when no one had arrived by 11 o'clock, he could no longer resist eating some of the food and soon had a full stomach. Then he drank a couple of glasses of wine, which made him very sleepy, and so he wandered off in search of somewhere to rest. He left the dining room, passed through the hall and several huge corridors, all magnificently decorated. He soon came across an opulent bedroom with an enormous fire blazing in the grate and a large, comfortable bed with huge pillows. The sight of it was too much for the tired man, and as he still had not seen anyone in the palace, he decided to get some rest and continue his search in the morning. Without thinking further, he threw himself into it and fell fast asleep. The merchant slept very well and did not wake up until 10 o'clock the next morning. When he got up and looked for his clothes, he was very surprised to find that they had been replaced with brand new ones. He dressed with haste and returned to the dining room to find the table already prepared for breakfast. With a full belly, he then set out to find whomever was living in the palace so he could thank them. His search eventually led him outside, and he was pleased to discover it had stopped snowing. He was, however, unaware that he was being watched. On his way out to the grounds, he walked under a rose-covered archway, and, remembering Beauty's request, he picked a branch on which there grew several red roses.
At least one of my children will have a gift,
He smiled to himself. Suddenly he heard a terrible noise behind him and turned to see a beast coming toward him, a monster so terrible that he almost fainted in terror.
You ungrateful wretch!
Roared the beast.
I saved your life by letting you into my palace, and you reward me by stealing my roses, which I love more than anything in the world. Now you must die.
The merchant fell to his knees and begged the beast not to harm him.
Forgive me, sir. I did not think you would be offended if I picked a rose for one of my daughters who wanted one so badly.
Don't call me sir. I am known as the Beast.
answered the creature.
I prefer that people say what they think, so don't think your flattery will change anything. I will, however, forgive you on condition that one of your daughters comes here willingly to die in your place. If your daughters refuse to die for you, you must return to me in 3 months and receive your punishment.
The man had no intention of sacrificing one of his daughters to the evil monster, but he said to himself,
At least I will have the chance to embrace them one more time before I die.
So the merchant promised that he would return, and fetching his horse, he left the palace. A few hours later, the man arrived home, tired and sad. His children ran towards him with open arms, but the merchant looked at them with tears in his eyes. In his hand, he held the branch of roses he brought for Beauty. He gave it to her and said,
Take these roses. Your unhappy father has indeed paid a great price for them.
He then told his family all about the worthless ship, the magical palace, and the misfortune that had befallen him. After hearing his story, his 2 elder daughters began to cry. But Beauty said, There is no need for our father to die. I will willingly offer myself to the Beast in his place.
No, my sister,
Said her 3 brothers.
we will track down the monster and kill him first. Surely all 3 of us can defeat him. My children,
Said the merchant.
this beast is too powerful even for you. Besides, the beast saved my life, although he now intends to take it. I gave my word. I am old and will not regret losing the last few years of my life, thanks to you, my dear children.
I assure you, my father, that you will not go to the palace without me, said Beauty. You can't stop me from following you. I would rather be eaten by this monster than die of a broken heart from losing you. Her father and brothers begged and pleaded with her, but there was nothing they could do to make her change her mind. 3 months later, the merchant sadly prepared to bring his beloved daughter to the palace. The 2 elder daughters rubbed their eyes with an onion and pretended to cry when Beauty left with her father. Her brothers and her father also wept, but Beauty didn't cry at all because she did not want to make her family even more miserable. They rode together to the palace, all the while exchanging beautiful memories with one another. And as darkness fell around them, they found the palace as brightly lit as before. The horse found shelter in the stable, and the man entered the large empty hall with his daughter. They proceeded into the dining room, where they found a table magnificently laid out and set for 2. Beauty thought to herself, The beast wants to fatten me up before he eats me. After dinner, they heard a great roaring. Beauty could hardly stop herself from fainting in terror when she saw the horrible monster. But she tried to control her fear, and when the beast asked if she had come of her own choice, she told him with a trembling voice that she had.
You are very kind,
Said the beast.
and I am very grateful that you decided to come.
He then turned to the man and said to him,
Say goodbye to your daughter. You will leave here tomorrow morning and never come back. Now, good night, Beauty.
Good night, beast, she answered, and the monster disappeared. That night, while she slept, Beauty dreamed of a fairy who told her,
I like and admire your kind heart, Beauty. The good deed you have done will be rewarded.
When Beauty woke up, she told her father of her dream. Although this comforted him a little, it did not stop him from weeping bitterly when he had to leave his daughter. When he had gone, Beauty sat down in the large hall and began to weep herself, thinking that the beast would surely eat her that night. Then, pulling herself together, she decided to explore. She was very surprised when she came to a door with a sign on it that read, Beauty's Room. She opened it and was impressed by what she saw. A large library, a harpsichord, and several books about music. On a shelf was a book inscribed in gold letters. Wish command. Here you are, the queen and the mistress. Alas, she sighed, I only wish I could see my poor father to know what he is doing at this very moment. To her surprise, in the mirror she saw a vision of her father arriving home, looking very sad. All too soon the vision disappeared, but Beauty was no longer scared because she believed the beast didn't mean to eat her after all. At noon she found the table set with food for her. During the meal she could hear beautiful music, although she never saw anyone playing. In the afternoon, Beauty walked in the palace gardens. She felt quite safe, but that evening, as she sat at the table, she heard the noise of the beast arriving and could not help shivering.
Beauty, would you mind if I watched you have your dinner?
He asked. You are the master, answered Beauty, trembling.
Yes, but you are the only mistress here.
Assured the beast.
You only have to tell me if I bore you, and I will leave at once. Tell me, do you think I am very ugly?
I admit that is true, because I can't lie, said Beauty. But I think that you are very kind.
But that doesn't change my dreadful ugliness,
said the monster.
I know very well that I am just a beast.
One is only a beast if one thinks it, Beauty assured him kindly. Only fools are not aware of that.
Enjoy your meal, Beauty,
said the monster.
Everything in this house is yours, and I would be sad if you were unhappy.
You are very kind, said Beauty, and I appreciate your generosity.
Oh yes, Beauty,
answered the beast.
I have a good heart, but I am still a monster.
Beauty enjoyed her meal. She was no longer afraid of the monster, but she was very shocked when he suddenly said,
Beauty, will you marry me?
She waited a moment before answering. She feared that if she refused, the monster would be angry. At last she told him with a trembling voice, No, beast. The poor monster wanted to sigh, but instead he made a dreadful hissing noise that echoed through the whole palace. Then he sadly said,
Good night, Beauty.
He left the room, sadly looking over his shoulder before he closed the door. Beauty felt sorry for the poor beast. Alas, she said, he is so kind, but I could never love a beast. Beauty lived happily at the palace for several months. There was everything she could wish for to make life happy and comfortable. She amused herself during the day, and every evening the beast would visit her and talk with her while she had dinner. Every day, Beauty discovered new virtues in the monster, and she became quite fond of him. Just one thing troubled her. At night, before the monster went to bed, he always asked her if she would become his wife, and every time he seemed to be overcome with pain when she refused. One day she said to him,
You make me very sad, Beast. I will always be your friend, but I could never marry you.
If that is how it has to be, so be it.
said the Beast.
I deserve what I get. I know very well I am horrible to look at. Nevertheless, promise me that you will never leave me.
These words embarrassed Beauty. She was missing her father a great deal, and although she could see a vision of him in the mirror any time she liked, she dearly wished to be able to speak to him again and assure him that she was alive and well. She could also see how much he was missing her.
I could promise never to leave you, but I would so much like to see my father once more. I would die of a broken heart if you were to refuse me this wish, said Beauty.
I would rather die myself than make you unhappy,
replied the monster.
But if I send you to your father, you will stay there, and your poor beast will die of heartbreak.
No,
answered Beauty.
I promise that I will return within a week. Your mirror has shown me that my sisters have married and that all my brothers are now soldiers. My father is all alone. Allow me to visit him for a week.
You will be there tomorrow morning,
said the Beast, giving her a jeweled ring.
Remember your promise. When you want to return, you only have to put this magic ring on a table and go to sleep. Farewell, Beauty.
Having said this, the Beast sighed as usual, and Beauty went sadly to sleep, feeling guilty that she had hurt his feelings. When she woke up the next morning, she was in her father's house. He was beside himself with joy when he saw his sweet daughter again, and they embraced each other for a very long time. When Beauty's sisters heard the news, they rushed to the house with their husbands. They were furious when they saw she was dressed like a princess and even more beautiful than ever. She was very sweet to them, but nothing could stop them from being jealous. The two girls went into the garden to grumble together. Listen, my sister, said the eldest. I have an idea. Let's try and make her stay here longer than a week. Her stupid beast will be angry because she didn't keep her promise, and maybe he will tear her to shreds.
You are right, my sister,
answered the other.
Let us be very sweet to her.
When a week had passed, the two sisters begged so prettily for Beauty to stay that she promised to remain one more week. Yet Beauty blamed herself for the grief she must be causing the poor beast, and indeed she even found that she missed his company. Meanwhile, the poor beast was very lonely. He thought that Beauty had left him forever, and gradually he became more and more upset. He could not bear to go inside the palace, and he spent his time in the gardens. He did not bother to eat now that he was alone, and was starving himself to death. He grew weaker and weaker, and eventually he collapsed under the trees. He lay there and just wanted to die. The 10th night Beauty spent at her father's house, she dreamt that she was in the palace garden. She saw the beast stretched out on the grass. He was not moving and was dying of a broken heart because she had not returned to him. Beauty woke up in shock and began to weep.
How could I break a beast's heart who is so sweet to me?
She cried.
Is it his fault that he is so ugly and has no hope? He is kind, and that is more important than anything else. I could never forgive myself if he died for my ingratitude.
So Beauty got up, put her magic ring on the table and went back to sleep. When she woke up the next morning, she was delighted to find she was back in the beast's palace. She dressed herself quickly, then spent all day waiting for the beast to arrive. She waited and waited until the clock struck 9, but the beast did not appear. Beauty then feared the worst. She ran through the palace, searching desperately for the beast. After she looked everywhere, she suddenly remembered her dream and ran out to the garden where she had seen him lying. Sure enough, there was the poor beast lying still as though he was dead. Beauty was overcome with grief. She threw herself on him without a thought for his ugliness and felt his heart still beating, though faintly. She took some water from the nearby pond and threw it on his face. At last, the beast opened his eyes and said,
You did not keep your promise, Beauty. But now I will die happily because I have had the chance to see you one more time.
Once more he closed his eyes and Beauty stroked his forehead.
No, my dear beast, you will not die,
she said.
You will live to become my husband. From this moment I will give you my hand in marriage, and I promise I will never leave you again. The pain I felt when I could not find you made me realize I truly love you, and I could not live without you.
Beauty looked at her dear beast, but what a surprise! The beast had disappeared, and at her feet she found the most handsome prince she had ever seen. He got to his feet and stretched, and then thanked her for breaking the spell. Although she had no eyes for anyone except the prince, Beauty could not stop herself from asking him where the beast had gone.
You see him here before you.
The prince told her.
An evil fairy changed me into the beast until the day that a beautiful girl agreed to marry me of her own free will. While I was under the spell, I was forbidden to tell any girl the true story. It was hopeless, for who would want to marry a fearsome beast? You were the only one in the world with the heart to give me the chance to show you my kind and gentle character, and by offering you my crown, I now also show you my gratitude and sincerity. You already know that I love you.
Beauty, who was amazed, took the handsome prince by the hand. They went into the palace together, and Beauty was happier than ever when she saw her father and the rest of her family in the large hall. The fairy who had appeared in her dream had brought them to the palace, and she too was there smiling.
Beauty, at last you have received your reward for making the right decision,
said the good fairy.
You have put virtue above beauty, and you deserve this prince who has such qualities himself. You will become a great queen, and I have no fear that you will rule wisely and well.
Then the fairy turned to Beauty's 2 sisters.
I know your evil hearts,
she said.
You will become 2 stone statues that will stand at your sister's palace gate. All you will do each day is to witness her happiness, and there you will stay until the moment you admit your mistakes. However, I am afraid that you may well remain statues for a very long time.
That very day, the prince who had been the beast married Beauty. She lived with him in the palace in perfect happiness forever after, because, after all, their love was a tale of honest virtue. That brings our story to an end, my sweet friends. Now it is time to turn the lantern down to a soft glow. Snuggle with your favorite stuffy and let yourself drift off to dreamland. Sleep sweet, my dear friends, and I'll be here when next you return to the Lanternlit Hall.